I never thought I'd find out my sister's getting married from Instagram. I sink into my preferred leather armchair, removing my work boots and stretching my toes. The extensive restoration of the Buchanan residence occupied every moment of my day, characterized by rotting floorboards, deteriorating plaster, and a century-old staircase that resisted my efforts at every splintered turn. A satisfying ache permeates my muscles, indicative of labor well executed. My phone vibrates on the coffee table, which I initially overlook, opting instead to retrieve the glass of Cabernet I had poured moments earlier. The rich red liquid captures the final golden rays of sunset streaming through my Craftsman windows. The phone vibrates once more, and then again. I take a generous sip and grasp for it, scrolling through the notifications. Another day has yielded a plethora of emails from contractors and clients. However, my attention is abruptly arrested by a photo featuring my sister Aria, adorned in white satin, her face radiant beneath a delicate veil. The caption reads, "Final fitting for the big day. Aria and Travis. Forever after." A lump forms in my throat. Wedding. What wedding? I frantically swipe through my feed. My screen inundated with images, my cousin Marissa displaying bridesmaid dresses, my Aunt Rosa arranging flower samples, and my mother's hands presenting embossed invitation samples. An invitation that I did not receive. I click on the most recent image, and a flood of comments ensues. Cannot wait to celebrate with you next month. The venue appears magnificent. So fortunate to be a part of your special day. 57 comments fill the section, featuring names of relatives, friends, and distant cousins whom I have not laid eyes on since my high school graduation. Everyone is included. Everyone but me. Suddenly, my phone rings, jolting me. The name appearing is my mother's, Cynthia Alvarez. This is impeccably timed. I answer, placing the phone against my ear. Mom. Deborah, sweetheart, her voice conveys a measured tone, cautious yet restrained. I was just thinking of you. How is work? My free hand clenches into a fist. Work is satisfactory. I just viewed Aria's wedding dress on Instagram. An elongated silence follows, stretching across 3 heartbeats. Oh, she finally responds after clearing her throat. I intended to call you regarding that. My grip on the phone tightens. My own sister's wedding? Has my invitation been misplaced? Deborah, her tone alters, a familiar note of disapprobation emerges. Do not make this situation about yourself. You are aware of Aria's sensitivities. Sensitive? What relevance does that have with? You have always been so engrossed in your career. Aria presumed you would not make time regardless. In that moment, the atmosphere grows chilling. I rise, moving toward the window, where the Denver skyline sparkles in the distance. So you all simply decided against inviting me? To my sister's wedding? Travis values family, she asserts, as if this elucidation suffices. And I am not family? The words almost choke me. Of course you are. Yet you understand the history. After your remarks on her cafe? I co-signed her loan, $22,000 that I reimbursed after her abandonment of the venture. She had children to consider, my mother's voice stiffens. Single motherhood is no simple path, Deborah. Pressing my forehead against the cool glass of the window, old memories begin to surface. Aria at 10, shattering Grandma's vase, while I took the blame, Aria at 17, sneaking out, and my willingness to cover for her, me at 16, announcing my engineering scholarship, only to receive dismissive remarks from my mother. Of course you secured it, you are the responsible one. The responsible one. Forever. I have not been overlooked, mother, I murmur. I have been erased. Now you are being overly dramatic, she sighs, the tone indicative of a woman burdened by a child considered unreasonable. We may discuss this later. I must assist Arya with the seating arrangements. The call terminates. I gaze at my phone as new wedding-related posts proliferate. Arya twirls in her dress, Travis and his groomsmen taste cakes, my parents beam alongside the happy couple. A family portrait devoid of my presence. My phone buzzes with messages from Jenna, did you see? Call me. Marcus from work, just observed your sister's wedding details, what on earth? Mrs. Henderson next door, dear, are you aware of the situation concerning your family? Even those on the periphery of my existence are cognizant of my exclusion. I sag back into my chair, the weight of 35 years bearing down upon me. I have dedicated my career to the restoration of historical treasures, revitalizing beauty in neglected spaces. Yet, I find myself unable to reclaim my position within this family. This realization washes over me with the chill of cold water. All these years, I have assumed the role of the fixer, the reliable one, the steady presence. I have co-signed loans, provided childcare on demand, and listened to breakdowns during the midnight hours. I have made my presence felt when others would not, and this is the outcome I receive, erasure. My phone vibrates once more. I silence it without glancing and place its screen down on the table. From my window, the mountains west of Denver are visible, their peaks glowing copper in the dwindling light. Beyond them is Boulder, where my parents still inhabit the Victorian house of our upbringing, where Arya retreated with her 2 children after Eric departed. Where they are orchestrating a wedding without my inclusion. A shift occurs in my chest, not the fiery flare of anger or the sting of sorrow, but something far cooler and more calculated. A quiet assurance envelopes me. In this moment, I murmur to the vacant space, I shall not rectify what they have shattered. I retrieve my phone and once more access Instagram. With meticulous intent, I proceed to unfollow my sister, subsequently my mother, my father, and my cousins. Each press of my finger alleviates a burden I have borne for far too long. This is not an act of vengeance, it is a deliberate choice, a demarcation. The last golden rays of sunlight recede from my windows, casting my living room into darkness. I refrain from illuminating any lamps. Instead, I remain seated in the encroaching shadows, experiencing a lightness that I have not felt in years. For the first time, I am not in a frantic pursuit to piece together the disarray of my family. The ensuing silence resonates as liberation. My tires crunch against the gravel of my parents' Victorian residence in Boulder. The morning sun reflects off the stained glass above the entrance, scattering shards of ruby and amber across the porch. The house stands majestically against the mountain backdrop, its gingerbread trimmings and expansive eaves as familiar as my own visage. I grip the steering wheel with such intensity that my knuckles turn a stark white. It has been 3 days since I uncovered Arya's wedding arrangements, 3 days during which calls from everyone have gone unanswered except for my mother, whose voicemails grow progressively theatrical. Dad's hunched figure emerges from the garage threshold. Hector Alvarez, eternally concealed by his projects. Today, it is his 1967 Mustang, the one he has been restoring since my high school years. He straightens upon noticing my car, wiping grease from his hands onto an old rag. His gaze flits towards the house and then promptly back to me. He does not extend a greeting. I turn off the engine and exit into the June warmth. Dad. Debbie. He nods, retreating further into the garage. Your mother is inside. Naturally and predictably, he will not be at her side for this discussion. Some patterns remain unaltered. The screen door creaks as I enter. The aroma of cinnamon and coffee permeates the house, my mother's version of emotional defense. She emerges in the kitchen doorway, her face carefully arranged in concern. Deborah. I was just about to reach out to you. Cynthia Alvarez, master of impeccable timing. Would you like some coffee? I prepared your favorite coffee cake. Not today, I reply. I stand in the entryway, hands tucked into my pockets. I wish to understand why I was excluded from Aria's wedding. My mother's smile falters momentarily before reforming. Oh dear, it is complicated. You have been quite occupied with your career. Do not. The term slices through her justification. That is insufficient reasoning. She busies herself by fiddling with the coffee pot, purchasing herself a few additional moments. Aria was concerned you might not approve of Travis. You can come across as intimidating. Intimidating? Because I posed inquiries when she introduced him after merely 3 weeks of dating? He values family, Deborah. She places 2 mugs on the countertop, her hands quivering. And you have always been notably independent. The garage door opens. Dad shuffles in, focused on the wooden floor. Do not make this more difficult than it needs to be, he mutters. More difficult for whom? I inquire, heat surging within me. For Aria? For Travis? For the 2 of you? Who has consistently excused her? I. My mother's eyes brim with rehearsed tears. That is unjust. Just? The word erupts from me. Was it just when I co-signed that business loan for her cafe? $22,000, Mother. That is the sum I repaid after she deserted it just 9 months later. She had children to think about, Dad interjects, finally meeting my gaze. After Eric's departure. Eric left 4 years ago. The cafe debacle transpired last year. I step forward towards them. I have been making those payments while she shares vacation pictures from Sedona. Single motherhood presents challenges, my mother whispers. And Travis represents her second opportunity. Dad's tone strengthens with this well-worn defense. He holds a good job in pharmaceutical sales. He can offer stability. So, she discovered her financial support. And now I am the one who brings embarrassment? The pieces click into a nauseating realization. Did Travis indicate he does not wish for my presence? Their silence affirms it. He perceives me as someone who does not care about family. I laugh, the sound grating against the homely kitchen ambience. That is rich, coming from a man who has known her for what, 7 months? Please try to understand. My mother reaches for my arm. This wedding is immensely significant for her. After the cafe. After Eric abandoned her with the children. Isla and Lucas require stability, Dad adds. Always using the children as shields. 8-year-old Isla and 6-year-old Lucas are wheeled out as justification for every erroneous decision Aria makes. And what about my own entitlements? 8? I quietly ask. What do I deserve after settling her debts? After babysitting every weekend when she had a date? After enduring her tears about Eric at 2 in the morning for months? You are stronger, my mother states. As though it is meant to be a compliment. You have always been the responsible one. The responsible one. The family's ATM. The free counselor. The emergency babysitter. never the sister worthy of inclusion. I pivot toward the door, suddenly fatigued. The burden of their expectations, their manipulations, now feels heavier than the timber beams I installed in the Buchanan house just yesterday. Deborah. Please. My mother is observant of my actions. We are relatives. Family. I halt at the entrance. Is this truly our relationship? My father advances. Where are you headed? Away from this place. I respond plainly. If Arya desires a flawless wedding, she is welcome to have it in my absence. I depart, leaving them in the doorway, their expressions reflecting perplexity as if they fail to grasp that this time I will not accept the impact. 20 minutes later, I slide into a booth at the Copper Kettle, the coffee establishment where Jenna is employed. She notices my arrival and sets a latte before me without inquiry, taking a seat across from me. That troublesome, I presume? Jenna, who has known me since our university days, detects the remnants of familial conflict etched on my visage. It is worse. I clasp my hands around the warm mug. Travis does not believe I value family, which is why I was not extended an invitation. Travis. She scoffs. This individual, who has known your sister for merely 5 minutes, presumes to determine who cares about family. Evidently. Jenna surveys the environment briefly, then retrieves her phone. Speaking of Travis, she slides it across the table. Kelly captured these images last night at the downtown lounge. The photographs depict Travis with his arm around a blonde woman who is unequivocally not my sister, both laughing with their heads drawn together. In the final image, his lips are pressed to her neck. My stomach clenches, not with shock but with a bitter affirmation. When was this taken? Last night. Around 11. I push her phone back toward her. What should I do with this knowledge? Jenna blinks at me. Inform your sister? Notify your parents? Prevent the wedding prior to her marrying a deceiver? The former version of myself would have acted precisely that way, eagerly rushing to shield Arya from her own choices and absorbing her fury when she inevitably reprimanded the messenger. No. This word feels strange yet appropriate. I will refrain from such actions. This time, I shall allow the truth to reveal itself. I take a sip of my cooling latte. Do recall, I am not invited to the wedding. It does not fall within my bounds to intervene. Jenna examines me closely from across the table. This behavior is uncharacteristic of you. Perhaps it ought to be. The realization settles within my chest, not accompanied by guilt, but with a sense of conviction. I have dedicated my life to rectifying Arya's entanglements. Assess the outcome of that dedication. I have been excluded from her wedding. Jenna concedes the point. Precisely. I adjust my posture, straightening my shoulders. Thus, let Travis continue as he is. Allow Arya to make her own decisions. I am finished being the familial safety net. And if she chooses to marry him? Then she marries him. Logically, these words should cause me more pain than they do. I cannot rescue someone who is unwilling to be saved. For the first time in my existence, I do not hasten to avert an impending catastrophe directed at my family. The discomfort from my inaction weighs heavily in my stomach, yet beneath it lies an unfamiliar current of relief. I pour myself a glass of Cabernet and recline in my window seat, the Denver skyline shimmering against the night. My phone lies face down on the coffee table, intentionally silent. 3 weeks have elapsed since I became aware of my exclusion from Arya's wedding. And today marks the occasion at the Ridgewood estate. The Ridgewood. The mere title exudes affluence and exclusivity. According to Jenna's sources, my mother devoted several weeks arranging for white roses and golden accents throughout the historic estate. 150 guests are anticipated, with local media covering the marriage of Travis Reed, a notable engineer, and my sister, the never-ending damsel. I take a leisurely sip, relishing the wine's complexity. For the 10th time today, I resist the temptation to check social media. What benefit would arise from that? Instead, I reach for my well-worn copy of Restoration Ethics and Historical Architecture, as work serves as my anchor. However, my phone vibrates, ramming against the wooden surface. Then again. And once more. The persistent cadence unsettles me. I set my book aside and pick up my phone. 27 notifications have surged in the last 4 minutes. My thumb hovers uncertainly over the screen. A part of me wishes to turn it off completely, to conclude my wine in tranquility. Yet an ingrained instinct compels me to swipe. A video materializes on my display, unsteady footage from the Ridgewood's grand ballroom. White roses adorn the scene, precisely as Jenna described. Guests clad in formal wear cluster against the walls. At the center, Aria and Travis are visible. My sister's mascara is streaming down her face, her immaculate white gown clenched in her fists as she screams something indecipherable. Travis looms over her, his tuxedo jacket undone and tie askew, his expression contorted with fury. "You were aware I was seeing someone?" he bellows, his voice cracking through the speaker. "You set me up?" Aria lunges at him, shoving his chest. "Everyone knew. You were not precisely keeping it a secret." Then it occurs. Travis's arm swings outward, his open palm connecting with her cheek. The sound reverberates throughout the ballroom, and gasps emanate from the gathered crowd. The camera shakes violently as the individual filming reacts. "Oh my God," I whisper, pressing my fingers to my lips. The video concludes abruptly. I urgently scroll through messages, attempting to piece together the aftermath. "Jenna, Deborah, are you witnessing this?" "Marcus, holy cow, I just saw the Reed Alvarez calamity on Instagram. Mrs. Henderson from next door has informed me, dear, your family is featured on Channel 9 News." I switch to the local news application. There it is, breaking news. The headline reads, "Society wedding concludes with assault charges." The footage replays, this time captured from an alternative angle. I see brief glimpses of my mother's horrified expression in the backdrop as my father attempts to move forward, only to be restrained by 2 other individuals. Suddenly, the anchor's voice interrupts. Law enforcement was summoned to the esteemed Ridgewood estate this evening after accusations arose that groom Travis Reed assaulted bride Aria Alvarez during what onlookers describe as a volatile dispute regarding infidelity allegations. I abruptly turn off the phone, discarding it onto the cushion next to me. My heart races in my throat. Part of me, one that I am not proud of, feels a perverse sense of vindication, swiftly overshadowed by authentic concern for Aria. Regardless of our disagreements, witnessing my sister being struck on what should have been the most joyous occasion of her life leaves me feeling deeply troubled. I finish my wine glass, refill it, and prepare for what I anticipate will follow. At 11:47 p.m., my phone rings. My mother's name flashes on the screen. I allow it to ring 4 times, taking a moment to regain my composure before responding. "Mom." Uncontrollable sobbing emerges from the other side. "Deborah," her voice falters, thin and fragile. "Your sister is hurt. Please come home." I close my eyes, the words I have repeated countless times poised on my lips. I will be there shortly. I will remedy the situation. I will assist. Yet, something halts me. The memory of perusing wedding photographs I was not meant to view lingers. The years spent rectifying areas predicaments weigh on my mind. The ongoing financial repayments loom large. I was not invited, Mom, I state quietly. Arriving now would only exacerbate matters. A profound silence ensues, so deep I can discern her breathing grow irregular. But she requires you, Cynthia ultimately whispers. She has always needed you. No, I respond gently. What she required was Travis. She needed stability, prestige, and a fairy tale wedding. From me, she needed my absence. That is unjust, Deborah. I understand. I swirl the wine in my glass, watching its reflection catch the city lights. So was excluding me from this occasion. The silence lingers. I can almost visualize her expression, the mental calculations taking place behind her eyes as she searches for the leverage that has proven effective in the past, the guilt, the obligation to family, the unwavering conviction that Deborah will rectify the situation. I lament what has transpired, I add, my tone softened. Truly, no one deserves that. However, I am not the solution this time. The line disconnects without further communication. I gaze at the phone, a fundamental shift occurring within me. For the first instance in my life, I have chosen not to hastily respond to a family crisis. The absence of urgency surprises me. That night, I sleep more soundly than I have in years. The following evening, Jenna arrives with takeout from the Thai restaurant on 17th Street. We dine at my kitchen island while the news plays silently on the television across the room, periodically flashing scenes from the wedding debacle. Are you managing well? Jenna inquires, twirling noodles around her fork. It is quite astonishing. Surprisingly well, I confess, although the neighbors continue to cast sympathetic glances my way as I retrieve the mail. Mrs. Henderson asked me if you required anything when I was parking. I chuckle, naturally, she did. She delivered banana bread to me this morning. The universal dialect of comfort during crises. Jenna smiles, then becomes serious. Has your mother called yet? I did not go last night, I reveal. Jenna's eyebrows raise in surprise. Seriously? That is unprecedented. I would say it is long overdue, I correct her. After dinner, Marcus texts to check on me, another unusual occurrence in my typically quiet existence. My colleague has unexpectedly become a source of insight, comprehending the experience of being the family outcast. I saw additional footage on the news. Are you all right? He writes. Better than anticipated, I respond. Good. Some families only appreciate you when they need something resolved. Trust me, I can relate. His sentiments resonate within me as truth. I continue to ponder his words when a knock reverberates on my front door shortly after 9. Through the peephole, I recognize my father, drenched from the sudden downpour, standing on my porch without an umbrella. Water drips from his silver hair onto his weathered face, making him appear a decade older since our last encounter. Deborah, he calls, his voice barely audible through the door. Please, I must speak with you. I rest my forehead against the cool wood, feeling the vibrations of his knocking against my skin. It concerns the house, he adds, desperation unraveling in his tone. The bank is threatening foreclosure. My hand freezes on the doorknob. Foreclosure? My parents have owned that Victorian house for 35 years. Part of me contemplates pretending I am not at home to allow him to stand in the rain and grasp what abandonment entails. However, his drooping shoulders and soaked appearance tug at something fundamental and deeply ingrained within me. With a resigned sigh, I unlock the door and open it. "You have 10 minutes, I inform him, stepping aside. This better not pertain to Arya. He enters, rainwater accumulating at his feet, and shakes his head. "It is significantly more serious than that," he asserts, extracting a substantial manila envelope from within his jacket. "Much more dire." As I shut the door behind him, a shiver courses through me, unrelated to the rain. While he dries off, I commence filling the electric kettle, aware that certain discussions necessitate hot beverages. My hands exhibit a slight tremor as I retrieve 2 mugs from the cupboard, bracing for whatever newfound family turmoil he has introduced to my home. Upon his exit from the restroom, he seems somehow reduced, lessened in stature. He holds a manila envelope, crumpled and damp along the edges. "We have redirected your funds to something else," he declares without any prelude. The kettle emits a sharp whistle. I pour hot water over the tea bags, granting myself a moment to absorb his statement. "What funds?" "The monthly payments for the house." For years prior, my parents insisted they were struggling with their mortgage. I had been remitting $1,100 each month since then. "For the mortgage," I reply slowly. "That is what you informed me." "Not precisely," he corrects, sliding the envelope across my dining table. "It was for a loan, specifically, a home equity line of credit." I unseal the envelope, dispersing its contents across the polished table. I observe bank statements, loan agreements, and notifications regarding impending foreclosure actions. My gaze lands on the loan sum, $195,000. "You obtained a HELOC?" He nods, his eyes fixated on his hands. "For Arya." After Eric's departure, the children required stability. As I scan the paperwork, a chill spreads through me upon seeing the co-signers, Cynthia Alvarez and Arya Alvarez. "Father, Arya has not resided in that house for years. How could she co-sign?" "Your mother," he pauses, swallowing hard. "She informed the bank that Arya was living with us." The implications crash upon me. Thus, the funds I have been remitting were allocated for the HELOC payments instead of the original mortgage. I retrieve a calculator from my desk drawer, my fingers trembling as I input the figures. 4 years. 12 months. $1,100 each month. A total of $82,000. My voice seems detached, as if it belongs to someone else. "You have misappropriated $82,000 from me under misleading circumstances." "Deborah, where has the money gone?" I demand, striking my palm against the table, causing a mug to leap and spill tea across the documents. Neither of us moves to rectify the spill. Arya's debts. The legal expenses following Eric's departure. The down payment for her residence. Travis had stipulations regarding their housing. I emit a harsh laugh that even surprises me. Travis. The man who assaulted her at their wedding. That is who has misused my funds. My father remains silent, which speaks volumes. I rise, proceeding to my office with a mechanical calm. I return with my phone and digital camera, commencing the process of photographing every document. "What are you doing?" he inquires. "Documenting fraudulent activity." The camera's shutter clicks, granting a satisfying finality to the moment. Bank fraud, specifically. Falsifying residence information on a loan application. You cannot do that. I undoubtedly can, I respond, continuing to take photographs, my hands now steady. And I shall. This would devastate your mother. Aria's children. Please do not. I raise a hand in admonition. Do not even think of placing this blame upon me. I am not the one who deceived. I am not the one who stole. His expression crumples. We never intended for this to happen. Indeed, you did. I lower the camera, locking eyes with him directly. You intended every aspect of this. You simply did not anticipate being discovered. My phone vibrates. A text from Marcus, my colleague. Contact information for the bank is forthcoming. How much remains on the helic? I inquire. Approximately $70,000, my father replies, rubbing his face in frustration. The foreclosure notice arrived yesterday. They are demanding the entire balance be paid immediately. I resume photographing, capturing every signature, every falsified statement. My father watches in silence, the enormity of their actions finally dawning on him. Why now? I ask at last. Why disclose this after such an extended period? Your mother believed we could refinance. However, no bank would engage with us following the wedding debacle reported in the media. He hesitates before continuing, and I could not cope with it any longer, especially not after you were omitted from the wedding, not after everything that has transpired. My phone rings, and I answer without verifying the caller ID. Jenna's voice breaks through. Be prepared. The following day finds me standing in the core of my living room, meticulously surveying my preparations with the attention typically reserved for historical building inspections. The large oak dining table, a restoration project salvaged from an 1880s farmhouse, commands the space. Its surface narrates a tale of betrayal through the meticulous arrangement of papers, photographs, and bank statements. A knock at the door signals Aunt Rosa's arrival. I selected her with care, my father's sister, the sole family member who has refrained from showing favoritism. You appear fatigued, Mija, she remarks as she steps inside, her silver-streaked hair framing her expressive, concerned eyes. Not fatigued, prepared, I respond, adjusting a stack of bank statements. I appreciate your presence here. She clasps my hand reassuringly. Family ought to convey the truth, not mere comforting lies. The doorbell rings once more, causing my stomach to tighten as I notice my watch. She is 15 minutes early. A strategic maneuver. Typical of Cynthia. I shall prepare coffee. Rosa volunteers. As I withdraw to the kitchen, I open the door to encounter them gathered on my porch. My mother's expression displays a facade of wounded dignity. My father is preoccupied with his shoelaces. Aria lingers slightly behind them, arms encircling her midsection protectively. Please, come in, I invite, my voice sounding unfamiliar to me, steady and composed. They enter in single file, reminiscent of solemn mourners. An unsettling silence envelopes us as they settle around my dining table. Aria quietly gasps upon noticing the documents. My father's shoulders slump even more. My mother's lips tighten into a colorless line. Aunt Rosa serves coffee that remains untouched. I choose to remain standing. The silence stretches until my mother shifts restlessly in her chair. Why this dramatic display, Deborah? If you require assistance with your finances, just ask. Stop. The command slices through her attempt at deflection. For once in your life, cease speaking and simply listen. I slide a document toward her. This is the home equity line of credit you established 4 years ago. amounting to $195,000, with Arya as cosigner, claiming residence at the property. My father's eyes briefly shut. This, I continue, presenting yet another document, is the rental agreement I signed upon moving out 12 years ago. The one that expressly prohibits you from utilizing my financial information or asserting that I reside there. I gesture toward a stack of bank statements. And these illustrate the monetary transfers, $100 monthly from my account to yours, totaling $82,000 over 4 years. Arya's complexion pales. Mother? What is she referring to? Our mother informed me that the house required repairs, I explain, maintaining my gaze on Cynthia. That a new roof and foundational work were necessary, and that she and Dad were struggling to manage expenses during retirement. She requested assistance, and I consented to send what I could monthly. My fingers quiver slightly as I display the photographs. These are images from the bank lobby security footage, showing Mom depositing my checks directly into the Helic payment account. Cynthia raises her chin. I did what I needed to do to ensure a roof over the children's heads. You secured that roof using my money and my trust. This is the same money I earned through 60-hour work weeks while repaying Arya's failed cafe loan. Arya's jaw drops. Cafe loan? But you mentioned that was a refinance. Your sister co-signed for your business, Aunt Rosa interjects softly. When it failed, she repaid every dollar. Dad finally finds his voice, laced with shame. Debbie, we did not intend for it to escalate to this extent. Do not, I interject, raising my hand. Intentions do not absolve one of fraud. Fraud? Cynthia stammers. We are family. Family does not deceive one another, I counter. Family does not forge signatures on loan documents. Arya stares at the papers, her hands trembling. I was unaware, Deborah. Mom claimed it was a refinance and that you had approved everything. I trust her. Arya has always been the favored child, albeit not the architect of this scheme. Cynthia snorts derisively. What do you want? To incarcerate your parents? To render your sister and her children homeless? Dad's head jerks up. That is enough, Sin. The sharpness of his tone astonishes us all. In 40 years of marriage, I have never witnessed him address her thus. Debbie has every right to be enraged. His calloused hands rest flat upon the table. If you desire the house, we shall sign it over. We can sell the side lot to reimburse what we have taken. Cynthia lapses into silence, her hands twisting in her lap. I scrutinize my father, truly looking at him, the proud carpenter who taught me to restore rather than replace, to recognize the worth in damaged items. His eyes reflect a blend of shame and relief, as the burden of concealed truths lifts. I do not seek your house, I say. I simply desire an end to this. Aunt Rosa retrieves a notebook from her purse. I have spoken to a colleague at First American Title. We are able to execute a quick claim deed for the side lot today, transferring it directly to Deborah. We could sell it, Dad suggests. The Miller boy next door has long been interested. I wish to enlarge his garden. Fine, my mother responds curtly. I do not expect an apology, I convey to them, surprised to realize it is true. I merely seek tranquility. The room descends into another silence, but the nature of this stillness has altered. No longer charged with unspoken accusations, it now bears the weight of truths finally unmasked. 2 weeks later, we reconvene at a title company downtown. The attorney articulates the documents with clinical dispassion. My father signs first, followed by my mother. The pen hesitates in her grasp for a moment before she scribbles her name. I do not deliver speeches about forgiveness, nor am I inclined to hurl accusations. I merely sign where required and accept copies of the documentation. As we rise to depart, my father gently touches my arm. I apologize, Debbie, his voice falters. For everything. I nod once, at a loss for words that would not shatter my carefully constructed composure. Outside on the sidewalk, Arya approaches tentatively. I shall repay you, she vows. Every single cent. Prioritize your children, I advise her. Establish your independence. She nods, tears streaming down her cheeks. I shall. I drive home solitarily, the windows down, with the autumn breeze rushing through the vehicle. My phone rings. It is Jenna checking in. It is accomplished, I inform her. How do you feel? She inquires. I reflect on her question. The anger simmers, but in a different manner now. It is not the intense flash of betrayal, but rather something more measured, beneficial. It is a type of fire that forges strength rather than eliminates it. It feels as if I have finally relinquished the burdens of others. 3 days later, I receive a certified check from the sale of the adjacent lot. I scrutinize the figures, assessing what it will and will not compensate for my losses. It does not cover everything, far from it. Yet, as I place the check into my wallet, I comprehend that I have acquired something of greater value, the power of truth, the strength to enforce boundaries, and the liberation from being accountable for the happiness of others. For the first time in 35 years, the only life requiring my repair is my own. Morning light floods my kitchen counter in the gun-barrel home that I have renovated over the past year. The 3-bedroom ranch house is positioned on a corner lot with a breathtaking view of the Flatirons. I run my finger along the newly sanded oak countertop, recalling the splinters that once rendered it hazardous to touch. My phone vibrates against the granite island. I glance down, anticipating another message from Balance Forward regarding tomorrow's workshop on financial abuse. Instead, the name Arya appears on my screen. Thank you for allowing me to rectify things. The children miss you. I place my coffee mug down, experiencing neither the intense sting of anger nor the burdensome obligation that used to accompany her name. I feel only calm recognition. Through mutual acquaintances, I have gathered fragments of Arya's new existence, 3 jobs, no subsidies, standing on her own for perhaps the first time since high school. Isla now walks herself to school, and Lucas has joined Little League without anyone pushing him. I compose my response deliberately. I am available Saturday afternoon if you would like to bring the children by. Her reply is immediate. Just me first. We need to have a conversation. I stipulate a condition without remorse. 2 o'clock, I have plans at 4. The boundaries feel instinctive now, rather than selfish. Saturday arrives, bringing with it a gentle rain that patters softly against the living room windows. When Arya's compact sedan enters the driveway, I notice the missing hubcap and the minor dent in the passenger door. No more luxury vehicles acquired with others' credit. She stands on my porch, clutching a small wooden box, her knuckles pale. Rain droplets cling to her hair, which hangs straight and uncolored for the first time since she was 12. You appear different, I remark, stepping aside to permit her entry. 3 jobs will do that, she replies, attempting a smile that lacks the practiced charm she once wielded as a weapon. No time for highlights when one cleans office buildings at night. I guide her to the kitchen, where 2 steaming mugs of tea await on the island. No wine. No pretenses of false intimacy. This is for you, she states, placing the wooden box between us. Dad found it while they were clearing out the Victorian. I lift the hinged lid. Inside lies our grandfather's pocket watch, its gold casing tarnished with age. This is the single cherished heirloom neither of us received upon his passing, the one item I had desired. How did you know? I inquire, lifting it with care. You mentioned it once during our teenage years, she responds, watching as I wind it gently. The mechanism emits a click and then begins to tick with surprising vigor for something long neglected. Perhaps time does not erase mistakes, I comment, but it teaches you when to cease repeating them. We sit in silence as rain gently taps against the windows. The atmosphere is not uncomfortable, it is not forced. Just two adults recognizing truths that have long been concealed. What did you do with the money? She finally asks. From the sale of the land? I meet her gaze squarely. I did not retain it. Mom suggested I open accounts for Isla and Lucas's college funds. Her eyes widen. After everything we did? After. I have ceased rescuing adults, I assert, feeling the correctness of my words. But children still warrant a chance. When she departs an hour later, we do not embrace. We do not make promises about future holidays or shared vacations. Yet, a transformation has occurred, like a bone finally realigned after years of painful dislocation. That evening, I sit alone on my porch swing, watching as the sunset bathes the mountains in gold. My journal lies open on my lap. Today's entry is simple yet complete. The gentlest form of revenge is tranquility. No bitterness coils within my chest as I inscribe these words. There exists no burning desire to settle scores. Only a calm assurance that I have rediscovered my essence. In that serenity, I finally sense liberation.